Welcome to today's Beltway Soapbox. I am merging on to a very rainy Washington Beltway, and today I'm going to talk about mandates. That is a timely topic this week because we have some folks in town who are driving in circles around the Washington Beltway, and they want to be heard regarding concerns about coronavirus pandemic response, and in particular ending some of the requirements or mandates. And I know I've been kind of critical about their methods and kind of poking fun at, why would anyone want to drive the Washington Beltway? I have to say, today, a rainy day in Washington, if you feel strong enough about something to drive the Washington Beltway in the rain, I admire you. Whatever your issue is, I admire you for feeling that strongly that you're going to drive the Washington Beltway in the rain. So these folks are out there, they're concerned about vaccine mandates, mask mandates. I personally am not a fan of mandates. I'm thinking back to when I was teaching in a middle school, and we had a monthly staff meeting, and there was a point where the school administration was wanted to say, well, this is a mandatory meeting. There were certain meetings that they wanted to say, well, this is a mandatory meeting. And some people kind of pushed back on that, and were like, well, why? Like, if it's important, if it's meaningful to people, like, you shouldn't have to require people to come. They should come because it's important and meaningful. And the people that aren't going to come anyway because it's not important to them. I guess I kind of agree with that. Like, if something's important, if people care about something, we shouldn't have to force them to do it. We shouldn't mandate that they do it. We should just kind of trust that they're going to do it because it's important and because it's meaningful to them. So when we look at pandemic issues and vaccine mandates and mask mandates, man, I'd really like to think that people would do those things. Number one, because it's important to them. They're protecting themselves by getting vaccinated, by wearing a mask. But also, wow, because they're protecting others. They're doing our society a favor by doing what they can to keep themselves safe and keep themselves from spreading a virus. And I guess I kind of compare that to things like wearing a seatbelt, right? Perfect for our drive today. No one, there's a seatbelt law, but no one's looking in my car right now. It's just to make sure I'm wearing my seatbelt, make sure I buckled up before I pulled out of the parking lot. But I'm wearing my seatbelt because it's keeping me safe. No one has to tell me to do that. If there wasn't a law that required me to wear my seatbelt, I would still be wearing it, especially on this highway. Kind of the same thing. We'll stick with the car theme. Doing things like using your turn signals. There might be a traffic law that says that you can't change lanes without using your turn signal. But in the end, that's something that is going to help keep me safe. It's going to help keep other drivers safe because I'm letting them know what to expect and letting them know what I'm doing so they can either slow down or change lanes and avoid or whatever. So things that we do to keep ourselves safe, things that we do to keep others safe, or just even beyond safety, just the general good of society. I'm not going to throw trash out my car window because it's really not a great thing to do for the world we live in, for the environment, for just people driving around and having to look at trash. So I don't need someone to tell me to wear my seatbelt or use my turn signal. I don't need someone to tell me, hey, don't throw trash out your window. I'm going to do those things for myself and for others. So, in general, I'm not a fan of mandates because I feel like we shouldn't need them. I feel like we should be able to trust people's general desire to be decent people and do the right thing. But we're clearly not in a situation like that right now. One would hope that given a global pandemic that is landing people in the hospital, that is killing people, given a global pandemic, one would think that people would be pretty eager to get themselves vaccinated, and that people would be at least willing to do some things to stop the spread of that pandemic. For whatever reason, whether it's political, whether it's someone's personal choice, whatever. I can't, at this point, I can't even really figure out what motivates people. For whatever reason, people are unwilling to do this, digging their heels in and just refusing to do what, at this point, we're pretty confident is going to help stop a pandemic. Wear a mask, get yourself vaccinated. So, even though in general I'm pretty much against mandates, I feel like in this case we've got a situation where it's kind of like, what the heck else can we do? We've told people what they need to do. We've given them the science on what they need to do, the reasons why. public service announcements, whatever. Like, we've gotten the message out, and we're making this pretty easy at this point. A year ago it was challenging to get a vaccine. Now you pretty much walk into any pharmacy, grocery store, wherever, and they're ready to vaccinate you. So at this point, we've done all that we can do, and really what's left is telling people they've got to do this, requiring people to do this. Am I a fan of that? No. Do I feel like it's necessary? Yes. Is it totally outrageous and never heard of before? No. We do this with other vaccinations. If I want to send my kids to a public school, they need to have certain vaccinations. For as long as I've been sending my kids to school, and I kind of remember that when I went to school. So we do this for other stuff. We have requirements that are designed to keep us safe, us personally safe, and designed to keep society as a whole safer. So, not a fan of mandates. I recognize that in this situation, people have shown us that they're kind of necessary, because we can't rely on general common sense people doing something for the good of society. And at this point, I'm willing to accept the fact that we've got to tell people what to do and do what we can to get them to do what they need to do. All right. As you can see, traffic is a little slow today. Any sort of weather in the Washington area, we can pretty much count on that. So I've had a little bit more time up on my soapbox this afternoon. Thanks for joining me on this drive. I am almost to my Beltway exit. Hopefully I will see you again sometime on the Washington Beltway.